Good morning from our NewsNation headquarters in America's heartland. I'm Nick Smith. We start with the day one promise from President-elect Donald Trump. He's promising to raise tariffs on imports from China, Mexico, and Canada by as much as 25% in some cases. The products you can expect to cost more come January, and what this executive order says about Mr. Trump's priorities for his first 100 days in office.
This can be fixed. And we need to fix it because it's going to save American lives. What's the downside on less fentanyl to kill a 250,000 people? What's the downside on less sex trafficking of women and children?
And Tom Homan, the nation's future border czar, working right now on day one plans to deport millions of illegal immigrants. We're live in Texas, where he will be visiting the border today. The high praise Homan is receiving from officials and agents on the ground, and how his actions might send shockwaves through the U.S. immigration system. And right now, you're looking live inside Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport. This is shaping up to be the busiest Thanksgiving ever, and some flyers will be dealing with wintry weather along with a crush of holiday travelers. We're tracking who could get a side serving of snow or an extra helping of rain for their Turkey Day. It's Tuesday, and it's Morning in America. Good morning, but first, developing overnight, President-elect Trump says he's fighting the, quote, invasion of our country with his tariff plan. The president-elect says he'll sign executive orders for 25% tariffs on Mexican and Canadian imports and an additional 10% on Chinese imports until those countries stop drugs and illegal immigrants from entering the United States. Mexico, China, and Canada are our biggest trade partners, and some of the biggest retailers in the country warn the added cost of these tariffs could be passed on to consumers. NewsNation's Brooke Schaefer has the latest for us. And Brooke, how soon could we see these tariffs actually go into effect if it happens?
Well, Nick, really, the president-elect now officially calling this a day one priority. In a series of posts on Truth Social, Trump announcing that he will sign executive orders on Inauguration Day, imposing these tariffs on products coming to the U.S. from Mexico, Canada, and China. As you laid out there, those three are the U.S.'s largest trading partners. 25% on Canadian and Mexican goods, and add another 10% tariff to all Chinese products, all in an effort, Trump said, to slow the influx of drugs like fentanyl and to stop what he described as an invasion of illegal immigrants. These proposed tariff hikes, specifically on China and Mexico, something the president-elect made a centerpiece of his campaign.
We're going to tariff the hell out of them. And Mexico, you know, people are surprised to hear this. Mexico is our largest trading partner. And if we put even a small tariff on like 10, 15%, you're talking about tens of billions of dollars, and they're not going to want to have that.
Now, Trump in the past has threatened to impose even higher tariffs on China, roughly 60%, something that has rattled Chinese manufacturers. Some Chinese experts bracing for trade disruptions, as are some major U.S. retailers. This month, the heads of Walmart, Lowe's, and Target each raised concerns about these possible tariff hikes, saying it could make products more expensive at a time when Americans are still feeling the remnants of inflation. The National Retail Association says Trump's tariffs on imports could raise prices on things like clothing, toys, and furniture, items where China is a major supplier. Now, some Trump surrogates, including Elon Musk, they have said that Trump's policy plan could trigger short-term pain for consumers, but they argue it will be worth the potential payoff. Even still, Target's CEO last week described this moment as a lot of uncertainty on how these major retailers will adjust. Nick?
Yeah, it depends on what products are affected and how much it's going to cost to consumers. Brooke Schaefer, thank you so much. Joining us now, national political reporter for TheHill.com, Julia Manchester. Julia, we just heard Brooke talk about these potential tariffs and what it could mean, but are tariffs now certain on day one, or is President-elect Trump looking to gain leverage on securing the border?
I think this is all about leverage at this point, Nick. I mean, I think he would, certainly enact tariffs if he doesn't get what he wants with China, Canada, and Mexico. But I think this is about sending a signal to the leaders of those three countries. In fact, we know that Trump has spoken with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau recently after issuing this tariff threat. So, there clearly are these ongoing negotiations. But look, I mean, these tariffs wouldn't go into effect for another, less than 2 months, a month and a half until he takes the presidency. So there theoretically could be time for Trump to negotiate with these three nations before he were to enact some tariffs. One question, though, that I have and that I think a lot of people have watching this situation unfold is with Canada and Mexico, does this potentially violate that USMCA trade deal Donald Trump signed in 2020? It was interesting. Earlier this week, we heard Idaho Senator Jim Risch talk about how if Trump were to enact tariffs, how Canada would be protected. Well, now we're not so sure with this tariff threat that Trump is issuing. So I imagine there's going to be a lot of negotiations happening behind the scenes.
And Julia, just to piggyback off of that, there are questions over what authority the president-elect would use to get these tariffs in place. Is this setting up for a major legal fight? And how do you see Congress playing a role in all of this?
Well, Donald Trump says he's going to do this by executive order on day one, on January 20th. So, I'm sure there could be some pushback, from his critics. But look, if we're talking about Congress, Republicans control the Senate. They control the House. So, this is going to be another test of their loyalty, if you will, with Donald Trump's party, the Republican Party. So going forward, I think you're going to hear some concerns from some Republicans about how this could impact prices. We know that Donald Trump and Republicans campaigned heavily on bringing down inflation, and there is a fear that this could have an adverse effect on consumer prices. But at the same time, I think we can expect Republicans to largely fall in line behind the president. And like I said, there's a lot we don't know at this point. This could be about leverage, and there could be a lot of chatting and posturing behind the scenes here between Trump and these three world leaders, particularly Canada and Mexico.
And Julia, yesterday we cited a YouGov poll talking about how excited so many young people are about the president and the plans that he said that he would enact on day one. Now, President-elect Trump wrote these tariffs will be among many executive orders coming. What does that signal to you about his priorities in his first 100 days in office?
I think we can glean a lot from Donald Trump's priorities, also from his cabinet picks and the speed at which he is moving. He's within 18 days, he essentially has a cabinet set. Of course, those cabinet picks need to go through Senate confirmation hearings, which could be a headache for some. But we already hear Donald Trump talking about wanting to use recess appointments to push a lot of these figures through, to ensure they're in place. So, that brings me to these executive orders and Donald Trump wanting to move fast. Look, I think he wants to, enact as many of his priorities as possible to really get a running start. And it seems that he is using executive action, executive orders as a vehicle to do that. Now, this could lead to pushback from Democrats in Congress. But like I said, he has the Republican stamp of approval. They hold the majority in both houses of Congress. So that certainly helps him. But, the executive orders, the executive action, it doesn't involve as much. It kind of gives him a go around. He doesn't have to go through that lengthy legislative process.
And either way, Julia, I'm sure you and I are both thinking this will be an exciting first 100 days in office either way.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's going to be, judging from the first Trump administration, we know that this is going to be different, but Donald Trump keeps us on our toes, so we'll be watching.
That he does, like a ballerina. Julia Manchester, thank you so much. Happening today, the country's incoming border czar is heading to Texas. Tom Homan is expected to tour the southern border with Texas Governor Greg Abbott. There'll be an Eagle Pass, which has been a focus of the state's Operation Lone Star program. NewsNation's Xavier Walton joins me now with the latest. Xavier, we know Mr. Homan is leading the charge for the president-elect's mass deportation plan, but what is his goal for today's visit?
Hey, Nick, good morning. In the short term, Homan's plan, at least today, his goal would to meet and greet some of the men and women who are going to help carry out President-elect Donald Trump's day one goal of mass deportation. Texas Governor Greg Abbott calling him the right guy.
There's parallel priorities.
Trump's border czar going to the area he's been tasked with securing. Alongside Texas Governor Greg Abbott, Tom Homan is starting an Eagle Pass at a Texas military base along the banks of the Rio Grande. Border officials say migrant crossings are down thanks to seasonal trends, federal executive action, and Operation Lone Star.
The priorities for the deportation operation are public safety threats and national security threats.
Homan visiting Texas National Guard soldiers and DPS troopers stationed on the border, including areas like Edinburgh, a region Ron Vitello, a former U.S. Border Patrol chief and retired director of ICE, knows firsthand.
It's well known for drug trafficking. It has for generations been a place where cartels have elected to use that part of the border to smuggle a lot of drugs.
In that same well-known area, the Texas Land Commissioner holding a border wall construction kickoff event. Don Buckingham offering a 1,400-acre ranch to the incoming Trump administration for mass deportation facilities.
We think it's so incredibly important for the safety of our communities to shut down this trafficking, this mass migration of illegal immigrants, and get our communities safe again.
So Homan and President-elect Donald Trump promising drastic changes when it comes to border security, Nick, and that could get the ball rolling as soon as today when they're at the border.
We'll definitely be watching. Xavier, thank you so much. Well, it's been 3 weeks since Election Day, and despite her loss, Vice President Harris appears to still be fundraising, reportedly telling advisors she's staying in the fight and exploring her political options. NewsNation's Alina Shirazi has the latest from Washington. Alina, by all accounts, it seems as though the vice president is doing anything but shrinking away from the political spotlight.
Exactly. Good morning, Nick. We know the Harris campaign essentially saying not so fast to dropping the curtains, although we know the vice president has certainly been laying low since her defeat. She has been quietly charting the course for the rest of her political future. NewsNation did learn Harris and Governor Tim Walz will host a call today to thank top donors and also possibly lay the foundation for her path forward in politics. As I mentioned, we know that the invitation to the call with the National Finance Committee here saying, quote, your support and leadership made this campaign possible. And the vice president and Governor Walz are looking forward to having the opportunity to reconnect and express their appreciation for your partnership and support. We know Harris has been telling her advisors to keep her options open, potentially another run in 2028 for president, or putting her name in the conversation to replace California's Governor Gavin Newsom, who we know his term is coming to an end in 2026. We know here a recent poll from the University of California on your screens there, Berkeley Institute of Governmental Studies, and the Los Angeles Times did find that nearly half of California voters would be likely to support Harris if she were to enter the race for the governor's mansion. Democratic strategists did speak to The Hill. They say Harris has certainly built a following that they believe will carry on well beyond the election. And on Harris's website, we know right on top of her homepage, it says, our fight continues. It's written in big letters above a request for donations. So what does lie ahead does remain a question mark, but certainly the wheels are moving for the rest of her future, Nick.
Alina, quick question. Would a run for governor be seen as a faux pas? Is there shame in that, or would that still be considered a smart political move?
I mean, looking at the past historically, you know, for candidates who have not made a win in the presidential race, they have taken other back seats. As long as they are somewhat active within their party, that is seen as a sort of success. That is what Democratic strategists are saying. And even so, if she does take that role, it could also sort of chart her career for the rest, looking at the long term. So it's not only the, you know, short term gains, she's looking at the long term for this. And if she does run for the governor's mansion, it could also potentially springboard her into what's next. So it is seen as a positive move, but what she decides to do does certainly remain to be seen.
Well, Alina, we'll definitely have to keep our eyes on that one. Alina Shirazi, thank you so much. A busy week to kick off the holiday season. Millions of Americans expected to drive or fly for Thanksgiving. Right now, you're looking live at the United check-in counters at Chicago's O'Hare International, one of the country's biggest airports. Today and tomorrow are expected to be among the busiest air travel days of the week. And coast-to-coast storms will have big impacts for travelers over the next few days. Meteorologist Max DeParis joins us from the Holiday Travel Center. Max, many are excited for Thanksgiving, family, and the food, but it's that side of snow and extra helping of rain that we can do without. Which areas will be most impacted this week?
Yeah, family food and not so fun on the roads and flying, as we do have those coast-to-coast storms. The Northeast getting hit by that rain and snow mix, even a little bit of an icy glaze where you see this winter weather advisory for upstate New York, parts of Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. But closer to the coastline, I'm expecting just rainfall and a little bit of a breeze. That could limit visibility at times, but up to a half inch is possible from New York down towards Washington, D.C. It's really closer to the Canada border where we'll see a slushy accumulation and an icy mix that could impact road conditions, so take it easy traveling that far north. Meanwhile, farther west, another storm system just generating today, causing heavy rain through parts of Southern California, heavy snow into the Rockies as well, where we'll pick up 1 to 2 feet, one of the bigger accumulations we've seen, into Utah and into parts of Colorado. Denver getting a few slushy inches out of this, but the most significant snow totals are going to be back to the west over the Sierras, where you can get up to 5 feet still. Let's talk about those airport delays now. We're seeing those impacts really in New England today. We'll see moderate delays possible. The FAA possibly thinking there might be a ground stop if the rain rates pick up too heavily. And then the midsection of the country getting some impacts for tomorrow for the busiest travel day of the year. And if you are holding off till Thanksgiving, look, the I-95 corridor or the entire eastern seaboard seeing another storm system. And Nick, I think that storm system by Thanksgiving itself likely going to be stronger than what New England is seeing this morning. So still many days to go with impacts before we have a big cool down heading into the weekend after Thanksgiving.
So the recommendation would be for everyone to check those flights before they actually head to the airport. Max Paris, thank you so much. We're also keeping an eye on some other top stories this morning, including a big change with Walmart. The company confirming it is scaling back some of its DEI initiatives. They include removing some LGBTQIA-related merchandise, ending a nonprofit that funds minority programs, and not considering gender when choosing vendors. Walmart is the largest private employer to modify its diversity policies in response to conservative pressure. The retailer says the changes are to foster a sense of belonging and a Walmart for everyone. Egg prices on the rise, and just before your holiday baking, boo. This increase is mainly because of lingering effects of the bird flu outbreak that started in 2022. Some areas around the country are even seeing egg shortages. Still, industry analysts say those shortages are isolated and also say while prices are higher than last year, they are still much less than the peak nearly 2 years ago.
First down and goal. Jackson keeps. Jackson to the edge. Touchdown, Ravens.
And did you catch that little pause right there? Like, boom, you went right, I went left. Lamar Jackson did his best to bolt by the Chargers defense under the Monday night lights. L.A. stayed in the game until the fourth quarter when Justice Hill put the game out of reach by breaking off a 51-yard touchdown run. In a battle of head coaching brothers, John Harbaugh's Ravens got the better of Jim's Chargers 30-23. How close could we be to a major ceasefire in the Middle East? That's the question we're all asking this morning. The White House is confident Israel and Hezbollah are making progress on a deal that would end months of deadly strikes. NewsNation's Tom Dempsey is following the developments. Tom, could an agreement literally be on the horizon?
Hey, good morning, Nick. Yeah, developments are literally coming in by the hour with all this. After the break, we'll explain what could be part of this ceasefire deal and how President Joe Biden's team is saying not everything is done until everything is done with this negotiating.
And new worries about President-elect Trump's promises to kick all undocumented immigrants out of the country, while farm groups say their industry should be spared from mass deportations.
Remarkable women from across the country. 125 trailblazers will be honored with a chance to win $25,000 for the nonprofit of their choice. Nominations open through December 20th. Go to NewsNationNow.com to enter a remarkable woman today.
You're watching News Nation, news for all Americans.
Your parents have given you some amazing gifts, but what about the inherited ones? Celebrate them with Ancestry DNA, the simple test that shows your deep family roots from your mom's side and your dad's side, with some serious detail. Trace the journeys and history that shaped who you are today, and see the traits they passed down. Your connections to the past are all waiting. See just how gifted you are for only $39.
Bye-bye cough.
Later chest congestion. Hello, 12 hours of relief.
12 hours? Not coughing? Hashtag still not coughing?
Mucinex DM gives you 12 hours of relief from chest congestion and any type of cough, day or night. Mucinex DM. It's comeback season.
Wow is on sale now at Cabinets to Go.
It's our buy one, get one free sale. Get your dream kitchen for as low as just $155 per month. Hurry, this buy one, get one free sale ends soon.
Cabinets to Go. Wow for less.
Deck the turkey with gravy and fixings. Fa la 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 la.
Dad, we are at a restaurant.
'Tis the season for ham and pork roast. Fa la 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 la.
I didn't know turkeys could sing.
We wish you a life.
How do I keep my protection against COVID-19 up to date with a COVID shot this season?
You can get your COVID-19 shot when getting your flu shot if you're due for both, as recommended by the CDC. Ask your healthcare provider and book at vaxassist.com.
We just want to have enough money for retirement.
And travel to visit our grandchildren.
I understand. That's why at Fisher Investments, we start by getting to know each other so I can learn about your family, lifestyle, goals and needs, allowing us to tailor your portfolio.
What about commission-based products?
We don't sell those. We're a fiduciary obligated to act in your best interests.
So how do your management fees work?
We have a transparent fee structured so we do better when you do better. At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different.
Did you know 80% of women are struggling with hair damage, just like I was?
Dryness and frizz could be damaged hair that can't retain moisture.
New Pantene Miracle Rescue Deep Conditioner with first-of-its-kind melting Pro V pearls. Locks in moisture to repair 6 months of damage in one wash, without weigh down.
Guaranteed or your money back.
For resilient, healthy-looking hair. If you know it's Pantene.
Kind of needs to be more squiggly. Perfect. So now, do you have a driver's license?
Oh, what did you get us?
With the click of a pen, you can get a new Volkswagen at the Sign Then Drive event. Lease a 2024 Taos for 0 down, 0 deposit, 0 first month's payment, and 0 due at signing. Limited inventory available.
This is the time of year when, as a country, we gather around our tables, set aside our differences, and give thanks for all that is good. This Thanksgiving, and in the times ahead, NewsNation invites everyone to the table, where all voices are welcome. We may not always agree, but we can listen and discuss with respect for all Americans.
All right, I want you to take a look at your screen. A terrifying emergency landing right now near L.A. The small plane slamming into a tree and taking out a fire hydrant after crash landing on the roadway just minutes after takeoff. The 2 people on board that plane were rescued and taken to an area hospital. They are expected to be okay. The FAA is currently investigating. And developing right now, the White House is confident that Israel and Hezbollah may be days, even hours, away from a ceasefire deal. Right now, you're looking live at Beirut. Israel has been targeting Hezbollah in Lebanon's capital for months. The conflict has killed thousands in Lebanon, as well as dozens of Israeli soldiers fighting the terror group. NewsNation's Tom Dempsey has the very latest from Washington. Tom, right now we've seen ceasefire deals fall through often over the past year. What makes the U.S. so confident that this one is the one to actually go through?
That's a good question. Good morning, Nick. Look, this morning, President Joe Biden's team saying a possible ceasefire deal between Israel and Hezbollah could be getting closer. But the team points out nothing is done until everything is done. And today, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's cabinet is expected to vote on the measure. But early reports indicate that this plan will call for an initial 2-month ceasefire and require the withdrawal of Israeli forces from southern Lebanon in return for the pullback of Hezbollah militants from the Israeli border. The Lebanese army will then patrol the border area alongside UN peacekeeping forces. The impact of the ongoing fighting in Gaza remains unknown, though. But since the Hamas invasion last year, Hezbollah has fired rockets into Israel, even reaching as far south as Tel Aviv. And about 2 months ago, Israeli forces invaded Lebanon, skyrocketing tension in the region. Now the U.S. hopes this possible ceasefire deal could be the answer.
Oftentimes, the very last stages of an agreement are the most difficult because the hardest issues are left to the end. That, of course, is true. Hopefully, we'll get there with an agreement. We're pushing as hard as we can to get a diplomatic resolution that would allow these tens of thousands of people in Lebanon and Israel to return home. But ultimately, that's up to the parties, not to us.
Now, even as these ceasefire talks happen, Israel is targeting commercial and residential buildings they believe to be Hezbollah's strongholds across Beirut and in its suburbs. This war between Israel and Hezbollah has already claimed thousands of lives and displaced many more. So any final deal will require a serious agreement from Israel's government, Nick.
And Tom, like you said, it's not done until it's done, but we remain hopeful. Tom, thank you so much. It's farmers versus the president-elect. Why some farm groups say the Trump administration's mass deportation plan could upend America's food supply. We'll tell you why after the break.
Are they really going to spend all day streaming college football on DirecTV? Can you blame them? They've got the biggest rivalries.
And bowl games. Speaking of, Frank, run a slant to the bowl of chips. Bobby, button hook to the salsa.
What are you going to do, Coach Prime?
Don't question your coach, man.
Looking for a way to stretch the dollar? With Insurify, you can cut your car insurance bill in half. Scroll through dozens of prices and tap to switch online. That's it. No phone calls and no wasted time. Go to Insurify and save today.
Hank used to suffer from what felt like a cold and flu medicine hangover in the morning. Then he switched to Mucinex Night Shift. Mucinex is uniquely formulated to leave your system faster so you wake up ready to go. Try Mucinex Night Shift and feel the difference.
I told myself I was okay with my moderate to severe rheumatoid arthritis symptoms.
With my psoriatic arthritis symptoms. But just okay isn't okay.
And I was done settling.
If you still have symptoms after trying a TNF blocker like Humira or Enbrel, Rinvoq works differently. Rinvoq is a once-daily pill that can rapidly relieve joint pain, stiffness, and swelling as fast as 2 weeks for some. And even at the 3-year mark, many people felt this relief. Rinvoq can stop joint damage, and in PSA can leave skin clear or almost clear.
Rinvoq can lower ability to fight infections. Before treatment, test for TB and do blood work. Serious infections, blood clots, some fatal. Cancers including lymphoma and skin, serious allergic reactions, GI tears, death, heart attack, and stroke occurred. CV event risk increases in age 50 plus with a heart disease risk factor. Tell your doctor if you've had these events, infection, Hep B or C, smoked, are pregnant, or planning. Don't take if allergic or have an infection.
Done settling?
Ask your rheumatologist for Rinvoq.
And take back what's yours.
My hair was thinning all around my hairline.
My dermatologist recommended Nutrafol. It's 100% drug-free and clinically tested.
My hair is longer, thicker.
Nutrafol is life-changing for me.
Get growing at Nutrafol.com.
Running your business can feel like a jungle, overwhelming and scary. But you just need the right tool. Odoo is the best software to run any kind of business efficiently. Through a sea of tasks, overwhelming paperwork, and never-ending spreadsheets. Whatever your business is, Odoo saves time to focus on what you really love doing. Try it now for free at odoo.com.
HomeGlow just cleaned my entire house for $19. Seriously, $19. They showed up right on time and did my dishes, my laundry, they even cleaned my windows. You just pick a date, pick a cleaner, and enjoy a spotless house for $19. I love using HomeGlow, and I think you will too.
I can feel the winds of change.
Welcome back. It's now 28 minutes after the hour. Here's a look at the top stories we're following this morning. President-elect Trump says hitting top trade partners with new tariffs will be a day one priority when he returns to the White House. Mr. Trump says he'll impose 25% tariffs on goods coming from Mexico and Canada. He'll also slap Chinese imports with an additional 10%. The president-elect says this will bring jobs back into the United States, but some retailers warn of higher costs passed on to consumers. And Mr. Trump's incoming border czar plans to visit the southern border today. Tom Homan is expected to join Texas Governor Greg Abbott for a tour of Eagle Pass. The town has been overwhelmed by migrant crossings. Mr. Homan has backed Mr. Trump's push for mass deportations of undocumented immigrants. We'll have more on that in just a few minutes. And a record number of people are on the move this week for Thanksgiving. You're looking live at Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport in Atlanta. Look at that. People moving through. It looks like the lines are actually okay, though, so that's a good thing. TSA is expecting to screen more than 18 million passengers at airports around the country from today through Monday. But some holiday travel plans could hit a few snags. There are staffing shortages at some air traffic control towers and even a strike at one major airport. And then, oh, there's the weather. Meteorologist Max Perez joining us from the Holiday Travel Center. Max, which areas will be hardest hit approaching Turkey Day?
Okay, so today we're tracking coast-to-coast storms, so the Northeast seeing a round of a wintry mix. Most of this is rain, but far to the north in the New England region, we're talking right along the Canada border, there is a winter weather advisory. You can see the rain changing over to this bright pink. That's a glaze of ice that's going to be accumulating, and you can actually see above me on this road conditions map. Yeah, we are checking in on several crashes through Vermont, through parts of Maine, where you see those exclamation points, where you see those dashed areas indicate road closure. So how much precipitation are we going to accumulate here? We are going to see this come down about a ½ inch or less when it comes to the rain totals for much of the region, but farther to the north, where we're going to see that precipitation rate be a bit heavier. If you are driving around through upstate New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, you're going to see that wintry mix impacting road conditions. All right, how about for the flyers now? Right now, we're not seeing any travel delays when it comes to from the FAA listing website there, but I do expect by Thanksgiving Day, we're likely going to see impacts right along the East Coast with a stronger storm system. So not too many travel delays likely today. I do think drivers are going to be more so impacted by that wintry weather, but certainly as we get towards Wednesday, Thursday, we'll see another storm system develop, which we'll talk about in greater detail coming up in just a few minutes, Nick.
Max, thank you so much. One of President Trump's day one plans is mass deportation of illegal immigrants. Some of those sent out of the U.S. could be migrant farm workers, and some farm groups warn this could be bad for the country and, more importantly, Americans' wallets. Mills Hayes is here now. Mills, I think many Americans might be surprised to learn that nearly half of U.S. farm workers lack legal status. What could it mean if the president doesn't make an exception?
Well, it's no secret that Americans are struggling to keep up with inflation. Over 70% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck right now. And now some immigrant rights groups say that people's financial situations could get worse.
If these mass deportations are executed and this labor force disrupted, it's going to end up with higher costs at supermarkets, right? Higher consumer good costs. The companies are not just going to eat that cost. They're going to pass it on to us.
The federal government estimates that nationwide, over 40% of farm workers are undocumented. We reached out to farmers, but many of them are reluctant to admit that they hire immigrants here illegally. But groups that represent them are hoping that Trump will exclude their workers from his mass deportation plans. The American Farm Bureau Federation tells us that agriculture and our economy rely on foreign workers to put food on the table. Their director of governmental affairs, John Boatwright, says, quote, "It's widely accepted that the immigration system must be fixed, but solutions should ensure vital industries like farming, processing, and distribution and food services are not harmed by unintended consequences. These are solutions that Congress must address, not just a presidential administration." Farmers are already dealing with a worker shortage. In 2014, 41% of farmers reported a labor shortage. By 2020, that number jumped to 53% of farmers reporting that they needed workers. And in 2022, the American Farm Bureau Federation said that the most pressing issue facing farmers was the worker shortage. So far, there has been no indication from the Trump transition team that farm workers could be exempt from any mass deportation operations. But during Trump's first presidency, he promised that his deportation efforts would not target the farm sector. However, there were raids at poultry and produce processing centers in Mississippi and Nebraska. And we did ask the transition team for a comment, but have not heard back yet, Nick.
And Mills, I am from Mississippi, and I can tell you that the processing plant there is just packed with people who work there who may or may not have legal status, and those raids can seriously disrupt the entire community. There has to be a way for these farmers to bring foreign workers in legally, though, right?
Yeah, there definitely is, Nick. Agriculture is a $1.5 trillion industry. Farmers can use the H-2A and H-2B visa programs to legally hire foreign workers. And this program has grown. The Labor Department data shows that they certified 378,000 migrants in 2023, which is 3 times more than in 2014. And frankly, farmers say that workers born in the U.S. are either unable or unwilling to work on farms. California Republican U.S. Representative John Duort has said that small towns would collapse if workers were deported. He hopes that Trump will pledge that immigrant workers in the country for 5 or more years with no criminal record will not be targeted. Trump's incoming border czar, Tom Homan, has said that immigration enforcement will focus on criminals and people with final deportation orders, but no immigrant is exempt. We're waiting to get more clarification from the Trump administration on what these mass deportations would look like for farmers. Nick.
This will be an interesting one to watch, Mills, because farmers definitely have a loud voice as well. Mills Hayes, thank you so much. Now to some more stories we're keeping an eye on this morning. A suspect is in custody after an Uber driver was shot and killed during a road rage incident on the Vegas Strip. Police said the victim had 2 passengers in the car when he was shot in the neck. Investigators used surveillance footage to identify the suspect's license plate and arrested a woman in her 20s. No charges have been filed, and the suspect is being interviewed by detectives. A Florida vlogger is under arrest for allegedly stealing from Target and then posting videos of her shoplifting stupidly on TikTok. Target and police accused 22-year-old Marlena Velez of picking out her items and then scanning fake and cheaper barcodes at the self-checkout. Police say the stolen goods total a little more than $500 in value. Okay, some of you are like, what is this, Nick? Is this a throwback to the 70s or 80s? Yeah, it is. Marty McFly dodged Griff Tannen and his gang on that hoverboard, and now it could be yours. The hoverboard from Back to the Future 2 is hitting the auction block, and it's signed by Michael J. Fox along with other cast and crew. If you want it, bidding starts at $100,000. Half of the proceeds will go to the Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's research. I promise you guys, that movie was a big hit when it came out. It was, I promise you. A decades-old case now in the spotlight, but there's no conclusion yet to the story of the Menendez brothers. Eric and Lyle's attorney talks to NewsNation about the next steps in their case and how the politics of the day impacted their sentencing back in 1989 and now.
Did you know GoodRx can help you get a better price on your family's prescriptions?
I just open the app, type in the name of our meds, that's it. Savings on my asthma medication. All right, round 2, baby, round 2. Oh, yeah! Savings on my husband's blood pressure refills. And savings on my daughter's allergy pills.
Prescription savings for the whole family.
Have a good one.
Another good reason to check GoodRx.
When life spells heartburn, how do you spell relief? R-O-L-A-I-D-S. Rolaide's dual-active formula begins to neutralize acid on contact. Rolade spells relief.
There's something going around the Gordon home. Good thing Gertrude found Delsum. Now what's going around is 12-hour cough relief. And the giggles. The family that takes Delsum together feels better together.
For holiday traditions, old and new. When you want gifts to express a lifetime of love, we've spent a lifetime crafting them. Harry and David, 90 years and still sharing.
Decorating for Christmas is a hassle. There's getting heavy boxes, untangling wires, dragging out the big, bulky items. And who wants to see all those ugly wires and deflated decorations? Now, there's the brand new Star Shower Slideshow, the ultimate in holiday decorating, featuring big and bold animated Christmas images that move across your home, transforming it from dark to dazzling. Star Shower Slideshow features advanced LED technology that is now brighter and more colorful than ever. Look at the side-by-side difference to string lights. Star Shower lights up your entire home with up to 3,200 square feet of coverage. Just place the stake in the ground, plug in a slide, and press play. It's that easy. Choose your motion for quick moving slides, slow down the pace, or freeze the images to be still.
This is so easy to install. You just plug it in, hit the switch, and pow, it just comes to life.
Everyone's got to see this. It's spectacular. It's the hit of the party. Everybody's talking about it.
Order today and you'll receive 4 unique Christmas slides. There are slides with Santas, reindeer, wreaths, ornaments, gingerbread men, and more. Call or go online now to get your Star Shower Slideshow with 4 Christmas slides for just $39.99. But wait, order now and get an instant $10 discount, so it's only $29.99. Plus, you'll receive 2 bonus slides absolutely free. The popular Snowflake Slide and the Snowman Slide for more variety. And that's not all. Find out about how to get the Star Shower remote. Forget going out in the cold dark night. Now, with the press of a button, you can operate Star Shower from the comfort of your home. Breaking news. Star Shower sells out every single year, and we have very limited inventory. So there's a strict limit of 3 per order. This could be your last chance to get the complete Star Shower slideshow set at this low price. So order now.
Call 1-800-775-1773 or visit slideshowchristmas.com. So call 1-800-775-1773 or visit slideshowchristmas.com now.
Deck the turkey with gravy and fixings. Fa la 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 la.
Dad, we are at a restaurant.
'Tis the season for ham and pork roast. Fa la 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 la.
I didn't know turkeys could sing.
We wish you a life.
Welcome back. 40 minutes after the hour, Lyle and Eric Menendez will not learn their fate until at least next year, after a Los Angeles judge decided to push their resentencing hearing until January. It was their first court appearance in 30 years. The brothers are serving life behind bars without parole for murdering their parents back in 1989. The judge hopes the new date will allow the incoming DA time to review their case. The Menendez brothers' attorney, Mark Garrigo, sat down with NewsNation's Chris CUOMO to talk about what the judge did allow that was interesting.
But the judge today initiated also under what's called AB 600 that he was going to initiate a resentencing as well under AB 600. So we have a situation now where we will have a full-blown hearing. What may be lost in just today's continuance is that both Jose's sister and Kitty's older sister, both the older sisters, actually testified in court today. We went forward with partial of the hearing because tomorrow Joan turns 93 and Jose's sister, Teresa, Aunt Terry as they call her, is 85 years young and has been battling cancer. Both of them, I wanted to preserve their testimony. We did that today. I will tell you, as cynical or as hard-boiled as I am, it brought a tear to my eye, both of them, to hear them talk directly to the judge and tell the judge. Now, mind you, remember, they're not just Lyle and Eric's aunts. They are the victims in this case because their little brother and little sister, respectively, are the deceased. And they said, it's been enough. It's been 35 years. We want them home. So that was very moving. I have
one of them
all
said
the
on this
confidence
show
in the world we're going to prevail.
One of them said on the show that I believed them about what was happening, and I didn't know. I mean, we had heard things, we suspected, but it was at a time when people weren't so forthcoming about that and didn't want to acknowledge it. And, you know, had I known, it's terrible what these boys went through. So how does the politics get you? Do you think this new DA doesn't want the same? Does it work for this DA politically to reduce this sentence, or is he a tough-on-crime guy?
Well, look, part of the politics of this, and the irony is that 30 years ago, as I've been saying since well before the election, 30 years ago, when a jury heard all the defense evidence, 2 separate juries, they voted not guilty on murder, and all of them tilted, more than half, tilted towards manslaughter. 8 days after O.J. was acquitted, all the rulings changed. The second trial with a 3rd jury happened. They were convicted. That was DA politics 30 years ago.
Without the same evidence. Without the same evidence.
Yeah, without the same evidence. Exactly.
You can watch CUOMO here on News Nation weeknights, 8, 7 Central. One of the most commonly prescribed drugs in the country could be doing more harm than good. What new research reveals about Synthroid when we come back. Dr. Yalda Safai will join me next to walk us through the report and what you need to know if you or someone you know is on this medication. And don't forget to download the News Nation app to take us with you wherever you go. Breaking news and updates on all the big stories delivered right to your home screen. Stay up to date and watch anytime, anywhere at newsnationnow.com and in the app.
Deck the turkey with gravy and fixings. Fa la 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 la.
Dad, we are at a restaurant.
'Tis the season for ham and pork roast. Fa la 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 la.
I didn't know turkeys could sing.
We wish you a life.
I told myself I was okay with my moderate to severe rheumatoid arthritis symptoms.
With my psoriatic arthritis symptoms. But just okay isn't okay.
And I was done settling
If you still have symptoms after trying a TNF blocker like Humira or Enbrel, Rinvoq works differently. Rinvoq is a once-daily pill that can rapidly relieve joint pain, stiffness, and swelling as fast as 2 weeks for some. And even at the 3-year mark, many people felt this relief. Rinvoq can stop joint damage and in PSA can leave skin clear or almost clear.
Rinvoq can lower ability to fight infections. Before treatment, test for TB and do blood work. Serious infections, blood clots, some fatal. Cancers including lymphoma and skin, serious allergic reactions, GI tears, death, heart attack, and stroke occurred. CV event risk increases in age 50 plus with a heart disease risk factor. Tell your doctor if you've had these events, infection, Hep B or C, smoked, are pregnant, or planning. Don't take if allergic or have an infection.
Done settling?
Ask your rheumatologist for Rinvoq.
And take back what's yours.
Your parents have given you some amazing gifts, but what about the inherited ones? Celebrate them with Ancestry DNA, the simple test that shows your deep family roots from your mom's side and your dad's side, with some serious detail. Trace the journeys and history that shaped who you are today, and see the traits they passed down. Your connections to the past are all waiting. See just how gifted you are for only $39.
Used for 2 weeks, now it's a $1,500 coat rack. Didn't even learn smoke on the water. Broke her pinky. Pulled her groin. Glued it to the table. Babble? Interesting. Can she even speak a word of Spanish?
Lo siento, ¿qué dijiste?
Wait, really?
¿Qué? Son solo 15 minutos al día.
Start learning today at Babbel.com.
Mike Huckabee here for Vinia, the remarkable red grape superfood for better blood flow. I have taken Vinia every day for 3 years. It's been a life changer for me. The science is sound. In a 90-day clinical trial, Vinia significantly increased the dilation of arteries. This dilation increases blood flow. Better blood flow gives me the physical energy I want. Better blood flow means more oxygen can go to my brain to give me the mental alertness that I need to be at the top of my game. Call or go online to get your first month free. Guaranteed results are your money back.
After HomoGlow cleaned our place for $19, we fired our old housekeeper. HomoGlow tackled everything, from our kitchen to our bathroom, all our laundry. You just pick a date, pick a cleaner, and enjoy a spotless house for $19.
When my hair started to thin, I thought, am I gonna have any hair left?
After I gave birth, my hair wasn't even thinning, it was gone.
When I spoke to my dermatologist, he immediately pointed me in the direction of Nutrafol.
It's 100% drug-free and clinically tested.
Within 3 months, my hair was fuller.
It's longer, it's so much thicker.
I had more scalp coverage.
It was so nice to be noticed for my hair after hiding it for so many years.
Start your hair growth journey at Nutrafol.com.
What if your body didn't have to hurt after being active? Introducing Stogo, the only apparel with adjustable medical-grade support designed to help you overcome injuries, minimize pain, and regain the confidence to get back out there. Stoko's supportive apparel is engineered with 90 feet of high-strength cables that reinforce the body and control dials that allow you to adjust the support. Stoko is trusted by professionals, world-class athletes, and weekend warriors who all want one thing: more activity and less pain. Black Friday sales now live. Learn more at Stoko.com.
We have a warning this morning involving one of the country's most commonly prescribed drugs. There's new research linking levothyroxine, also known as Synthroid, to bone loss. The medication is often prescribed for underactive thyroids. Joining me now to break down the reports is physician and public health specialist Dr. Yalda Safai. Dr. Safai, this, of course, is concerning to many. Can you walk us through these findings just a little bit and describe the correlation to bone loss faster than those not on Synthroid?
Sure. I got to point out here, because I don't want anybody to panic, this is a very widely prescribed medication. So this study had several limitations. It was only done on I think a sample size of like 50, very small. In general, for a study to have strength, you need it to be done on thousands and thousands of people. And it only looked at a small subset of the population, those over the age of 75, which are already vulnerable to osteoporosis and bone disease. And I have to note here that if you've been diagnosed with thyroid disease, you're already at a higher chance of bone loss. So this study showed that there's a correlation between this medication and bone loss, but it does improve causation because the disease in itself can also cause bone loss. So there's much more research that needs to be done on this medication before we change our prescribing habits.
Dr. Safai, I'm so glad that you said that you made it clear that there was correlation but not causation. Why is that so important for those who might be on this medication?
So it's because I don't want anybody to panic, right? This is a widely prescribed medication. It's necessary. Keep in mind, when we take into account whether to prescribe a medication or not, we weigh the risks versus the benefits. The risks of not treating thyroid disease are so severe that the risk with this medication far outweighs, the benefit of this medication far outweighs any costs or risk that might be associated with it. So it's really important for people who have hypothyroidism to not panic and still stay on this treatment regimen, because the consequences of not treating hypothyroidism is much more severe.
That, and you were also concerned about that sample size. You're like, Nick, this was a very small sample, so I don't want people to blow this small sample in this specific study out of proportion. What about the some 23 million Americans who use some form of this medication to treat thyroid conditions? What should they know about their treatment plan? Should they make any sudden changes, or, as you probably are going to suggest, talk to your doctor?
Of course, no, I wouldn't recommend doing anything in terms of taking the medication itself, but now here's what's very important. You need to start strength training early in life, whether you have thyroid disease or not, because strength training early in life will prevent something like this from happening, or it will delay it. So with this medication or with thyroid disease, they're saying that the bone gets more frail, and in turn, it puts you susceptible for risks for fractures, right? So if you start strength training early in life, as soon as you are diagnosed with hypothyroidism, it might delay or prevent any issues like this.
Dr. Safai, before I let you go, I do want to ask you one last question, though. There are also questions on who really needs the treatment. According to the Yale School of Medicine, about 90% of people on the drug may not need it. How does someone know if it's time to switch treatments and reduce their risk of the disease?
Sure. The only way to know that is take someone off the medication and watch their thyroid levels, which comes with risk. So I think every person needs to assess their own individual risk, talk to their doctors and see if they are okay with experimenting with this. Usually hypothyroidism is a lifelong disease. That's why people stay on it most of their lifetimes, right? But the only way to know whether they don't need this anymore is to cut the medication and monitor the thyroid levels, which comes with risks.
Dr. Yalda Safai, I have to tell you, the takeaway for me was causation and correlation are two very different things. Thank you so much for your help this morning.
Thank you for having me. Stay healthy.
And happy holidays to you and your family. This holiday season is going to be a little awkward for one NFL player and his family. Why Tampa Bay Buccaneers quarterback Baker Mayfield is suing his father and brother for more than $12 million. And President-elect Trump says he'll roll out sweeping new tariffs on day one. Why he's targeting America's biggest trading partners first, and how it could impact you and your wallet. Hey, y'all, it's Tuesday. You know what? It's time for a little bit of that trivia that we love so much. Today, we've been talking about singer Tina Turner, and it's her 85th birthday. She died back in 2023 due to long illness, suffering from cancer and health struggles throughout the years. But Tina Turner wasn't her real name. Do you know what it is? Is it A, Lorraine Taylor, B, Marie Booker, C, Ann Thomas, D, Anna Mae Bullock? The answer when we come back.
For more than a decade, Farxiga has been trusted again and again and again. Ask your doctor about Farxiga.
Hey.
It can be so easy to get busy and distracted during the holidays. Easy to lose focus. Easy to lose sight of what this season is really about. For God so loved the world that he gave us his only son. Don't lose sight this Advent. Pray every day on Hello.
There's something going around the Gordon home. Good thing Gertrude found Delsum. Now what's going around is 12-hour cough relief. And the giggles. The family that takes Delsum together feels better together.
At Grainger, we know the ones who get it done wear a lot of hats. A hard hat is one, problem solver is another.
Whatever the job calls for, we're here for you. We're America's trusted source for industrial-grade products with the scale and resources to deliver and the knowledge to help answer tough product questions. Because we know that hats change, but having access to real people ready to help combined with fast delivery never goes out of style. Call, clickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Every night, it's the same thing. After dinner, you start soaking, scrubbing, and scraping your stovetop. It's a nightmare. Well, now you can wake up to a clean dream kitchen every day with StoveGuard, the slide-on stovetop protector that stops all the messes before they start.
Ooey gooey cheese and macaroni, thick red staining sauce, even this sticky melted candy. They just rinse right off in seconds and your stove stays sanitary, spotless, and clean. So you can clean less and live more.
The fun part of cooking is the eating, not the cleaning up. The time that it takes to clean the stove, especially from oily products, is so long. StoveGuard is super easy to clean. You just rinse it and there's literally nothing left to clean up on the stove.
Don't settle for cheap imitations that are weak. StoveGuard Premium is 6 times thicker than the competition and stronger. Each StoveGuard is custom designed and precision cut to fit your stove model.
Plus, every StoveGuard is made from fire retardant, FDA-approved material, and PFOA and BPA free. And always rinses off perfectly clean.
Stoves are expensive, and I want to protect the one that I have, and StoveGuard lets me do that. Keeps my stovetop looking like new, like I just bought it.
StoveGuard has thousands of 5-star reviews. It's ignited a revolution in kitchens, and it's so easy to order. Simply locate your model number behind the door or drawer of your stove and enter it into StoveGuard.com. And our US-based team will send you your beautiful StoveGuard. Go to StoveGuard.com right now to order your custom-fit StoveGuard and get free shipping.
And if you order now, we'll also send you the Grill Guard free. Now you can grill whatever you want without food falling through. And it stops your grill grates from getting that caked-on mess. Just pay a separate processing fee.
Go to StoveGuard.com right away or scan the QR code on your screen.
Welcome back. Tina Turner was simply the best. Today would have been the singer's 85th birthday. Before the break, I asked you all at home what her real name was. Well, if you answered D, Anna Mae Bullock, you're right. And I'm thinking most Beyonce fans know that from the song Drunk in Love, right? Well, happy birthday, Miss Turner. A family feud is brewing for Tampa Bay Buccaneers quarterback Baker Mayfield, and it's boiled over into a lawsuit. Mayfield filed a $12 million lawsuit against his father's company, Camwood Capital Management. NewsNation's Ryan Bass joins me live from outside Raymond James Stadium in Tampa to break it all down. Oh, exactly what is he accusing his father and brother of?
Well, Nick, there's some serious beef here, clearly, between Mayfield, his father, and his brother. Baker's accusing them and basically the company that they own of inappropriately spending millions of Mayfield's money. He says they violated his settlement agreement, so now he's trying to take them to court to get back some of that money. Now, Mayfield's lawyers filed this lawsuit on his behalf in U.S. District Court in Austin, Texas on Friday, November 22nd, alleging that Camwood Capital Management Group, which is owned by his father, James Mayfield, and a company that his brother Matt has a stake in, failed to fulfill their end of a settlement agreement, which outlined a repayment plan for more than $12 million to Mayfield. Now, the lawsuit alleges that $12.2 million was transferred from Baker Mayfield to the family's business from 2018 to 2021 without Mayfield signing off, saying the cash was, quote, used to cover general operating expenses such as to meet payroll obligations and was a primary source of funding for the companies. Now, Baker alleges that the money here was improperly taken. He's made about $85 million in career earnings to date, so the alleged funds are actually a pretty good chunk of cash that he's made in his NFL career. He did just recently, Nick, sign a new 3-year deal with the Buccaneers, $100 million for that contract with $50 million guaranteed. As of now, by the way, the Mayfield family, both Baker and father and brother, have yet to respond.
I hate hearing that when families have this type of situation, though. But Ryan, quickly, before I let you go, how long has this feud been going on? Because we're just kind of hearing about it now in the public for the first time.
Yeah, it seems like this has been going on, at least this spat between Mayfield and his family, for over a year now, Nick. I want to show you this timeline kind of lays out in terms of where we're at right now. So in August of 2023, Mayfield's legal team filed a petition to see Camwood Capital's financial records for a stretch of 5 years from 2018 to 23. Remember, Mayfield was drafted #1 overall in 2018. This past January, a settlement was reportedly reached between Mayfield and his dad's company. The first repayment was set to begin in September, but they never received it, which is why Mayfield's attorneys then filed the lawsuit this past Friday in Texas court. If you're wondering why is this happening in Texas court when Mayfield is the quarterback of the Buccaneers here at Raymond James Stadium behind me, well, Baker's actually an Austin, Texas native, and his father's company is Austin-based, Nick. So we'll see how this does all play out and if, in fact, it does go to court.
I'm hoping they can come to some type of agreement. Ryan Bass, thank you so much, sir. Well, it's now top of the hour. You know what that means. If you're heading to the market to get a jump on holiday baking, you might want to check your wallet first. Why egg prices are creeping up just in time for the cookies and pies you're planning to bake. More news for All America starts right now.